Good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome back to our weekly updates of my presidential election model. This is the final week that's going to count for August. Next week's will start. Next week will start September, and that'll be the final month of the third quarter, which is awesome. And looking at the map, I don't think I need to say much other than I think things are starting to normalize now that we finally we're starting to get some data points here, at least in terms of what we had been seeing in previous months. Though I think Harris X is kind of giving Trump maybe slightly too much credit. But then again, in terms of their national polling, plus this far out in advance, we're still more than a year in advance. The polling isn't going to be 100% spot on. So that's why I averaged that poll. And this is why I include fundamentals. But we'll see what the truth is as I start taking off fundamentals and as polling starts becoming more and more accurate closer to the election. Right now, you can pretty much you can't ignore polls. They give you a good picture of what's going on, but you have to, as always, take them as a whole, not just pick and choose which polls you want to look at. Yeah. Anyway, as for the explanation of why I had no video on Friday and why I decided not to upload on Saturday for whatever reason, long story short, for the first time in a couple of years, I actually managed to get a date, but we'll talk about that some other time. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it becomes something. But anyway, so what we're looking at here is obviously the map, and I want to take another week before I make my final decision on whether or not I'm going to change the categories in terms of this percentage. My actual model is a little bit more consistent because it's a confident, whereas tilt I consider dead even, but I'm giving one side the slightest of advantages. One time out of 100 is basically what a tilt is for me. A lean is, I think it's enough. I think the race is close enough and safe enough that it's right to call it for that party or something else. But it's also but for my own personal model, or my own personal forecast, not the model. For my forecast, it's a confidence margin. So I'm slightly confident, though I can see it changing. That's what lean is. Likely is I'm fairly confident, though things could change depending on what happens during the cycle. Safe is I really don't see that changing. So that's kind of that. But here, of course, tilt is anything within 5%. And the reason why I've done that is that's actually closer to what 538 has found. They said they actually do something similar in terms of how they rate their polls, how they factor in professional models into their own model. Nate Silver treats anyone who puts a tilt category on something as within 5%. And then a lean would be within 10, and a likely would be about 15. And I'm not kidding. I forget where he wrote it down, but it was, I think, in 2018 during that midterm cycle. So we're already almost a year past when it was written. So I'll take some time at some point and see if I can find it up. And if I do, I'll let you guys know, and the link will be in the description of whichever video I tell you. Anyway, again, sorry I'm getting this out so late. Number one, day job. Number two, I need to eat. And number 3, I want to make sure I do my research. So let's actually talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's happened the past week and a half, really. So a number of candidates have dropped out of the Democratic primaries. Hickenlooper being a notable one, as he immediately turned around and decided to run for Senate in Colorado. And he's probably the favorite to win the nomination, as well as the favorite to beat Cory Gardner. That's not really up for debate in that race. Corey Lewandowski decided to run in New Hampshire, and that's an interesting one. I'm a little bit skeptical, simply because, if I'm honest, I don't think that's a good look for New Hampshire. You need somebody who's, number one, a little bit more moderate. Number two, is a bit more personable. And number three, is they're really just their own person. You know, you can't have somebody who's basically Trump light in New Hampshire, especially when they're tied to the Trump campaign and have a view as they are subordinate to Trump. They kind of need to be their own thing. I think Chris Sununu is a perfect example. In other races, I know people are saying, well, Alabama might be competitive if Roy Moore runs, but I'm not sure he's going to. And even if he does, I doubt he wins the primary. Considering he lost the last time, that's a very effective argument against him. Now, that said, even if he does manage to run and win the primary, it's a presidential election year in Alabama. I don't think that's going to change I really don't think that would change what happens in the Senate race in Alabama all that much. I don't care how many teens he diddled. That said, Alabama would be the losers of that Senate election. As I said in 2017, in my summary of the special election, Alabama was the loser of that Senate race because they got somebody who they really don't agree with, because the other option was a kitty diddler. So, yeah, if that happens, Alabama's going to lose 2 straight elections for that seat. It's just not an ideal situation. Elsewhere, in terms of the Democratic primary for president, you've got the 2 big front runners of Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. Below them, below those 2, you've got Elizabeth Warren doing well. Kamala Harris is holding on, though she had a really bad second debate. And then I think Andrew Yang is actually polling decently well right now for whatever reason. Then I guess Beto's hanging around for only he knows. But his star burnt out fast. I'll be 100% honest. His star burnt out fast. Anyway, that's about it. I want y'all to take it easy. Have a nice day. I'll see you guys next time. And remember, likes, comments, subscriptions, those all help. And all useful links are down in the description. And remember, if you want a polls only look, just check this tab out. Okay? Sound good? Sounds good. Take it easy, y'all. Bye.